I've already done the hardest thing. I've told my kids their dad died. What else is harder than that?
I remember thinking, I can go to my dad for comfort, and my children will never get that opportunity again.
I feel relieved, and now I feel like a horrible person that I've like said it out loud that I feel relieved that my husband died.
The emotional aloneness is so soul-crushing. It's so real, and no one prepares you for it.
Does resentment ever creep in?
Yes. Sorry.
If I could pick up men like I pick up widows, I'd be like living my best life right now.
Literally, her husband passed away, and then like 4 days later, I showed up on her doorstep, wild-eyed, like, here's the macaroni, and are we gonna be lifelong friends?
I didn't know my heart could hold so much love, and it happened again.
Every day is a blessing. We're still here, and it's just remembering that. The good moments, the bad moments, but I'm here, and it just puts everything into perspective.
So one of the goals of this series is to help moms feel seen. And when I was connected with you, Nadene, and you, Samantha, and then subsequently met the two of you and heard about your stories as moms who are also widows, it struck me that this is a subset of moms who don't often get the spotlight. And not only that, that some of the challenges that you faced as the lone parent in the home are challenges that other moms are also likely facing, regardless of the circumstances. But I do want to start by having you tell me about how you met your late husbands, because coincidentally, you all have movie-worthy-esque stories. Like, we have ravers, we have world travelers, we have the cutest meet cute ever at a restaurant in Ottawa, and a Hallmark-worthy wedding story.
Yes.
So we'll start with you.
Okay. I always love to talk about Andrew. It makes me so warm and lovely. So Andrew and I met actually at my sister's wedding. I was in not the best relationship at the time, didn't maybe realize it wasn't a great relationship. And my sister and my brother-in-law paired us up in the wedding party. And later on in the evening, my boyfriend sort of got angry and stormed out of the wedding. And it was like a wow moment. This is not a nice person. And this person I started hanging out with the rest of the evening, I was like, he's an amazing person. This is what kind humans are supposed to be like, right? And so, yeah, he's a lovely, soft-spoken, reserved guy, but just the loveliest human. And I know when we talk about our late husbands, you always think of them in the best light because we're talking about their memory. And we had our ups and downs, just like everyone did in marriage and in relationships. But it's, he was just a superhuman and blessed us with 2 boys. And he was a mechanical engineer. My oldest son is doing that now. So there's a lot of wonderfulness about remembering him. Yeah.
What about you?
My husband and I met at a rave in Toronto in 2001. We had met online. This is like so old, but there was a message board for Toronto ravers. So we were both on the message board and, kind of knew of each other through there. But then we met in person at a rave in 2000, actually. So we were like friends for a few months and would see each other at raves and clubs and online on this message board. And then in April of 2001, we started dating as lots of 20-somethings do. Like, we got drunk at a bar and started making out. And that was the beginning of our relationship.
Keeping it real.
Exactly. But like you, I love remembering him and telling people about him. He was a social worker. And, he loved The Simpsons. He loved doing crosswords. He was a real character. And he was my best friend. And yeah, so it's always like it's a real treat when someone says, oh, how'd you meet your husband? Or like, tell me about him. Or what was he like? Like, it's a real treat to be able to answer that question.
I have noticed in knowing you that when I do ask you that question, you do all light up. You can see it.
Yeah.
Jess, what about you?
Yeah, so my husband, Stephen, and I were both from Newfoundland. We went to university at the same time, but we had never crossed paths. And when we were both living out west, I went to stay with his roommate for a weekend. And And the rest was history. I went to stay, we met. And then actually I had a memory after meeting him that when we were in university, he had hit on me one night and I was like not interested at all. And then it all came back to me. We always had the same idea that we wanted to write our own story. He was in consulting and I'm an accountant. And we were just kind of getting tired of the grind and this story that is written for so many of us. So we spent some time in Alberta and we moved to the GTA. Then we got married, went on our honeymoon to Australia, and then we came back in the winter of 2013. And in February of that year, we were both sitting on the couch. It was a Sunday, and we were just plugging away at our laptops. And we looked at each other and said, like, we can't live like this. This is not living. And we came up with this idea that we were going to sell everything and travel.
It's like out of a movie.
Yeah, truly. And I remember getting up on the couch and jumping up and down and saying, like, if we're doing this, we're doing this. And so that was in February. In April, we sold our house, and we left in June.
Oh my God.
With a one-way ticket.
Oh my God.
For a year. I get goosebumps now because I just, similar to you ladies, like I love telling these stories and I love being able to go back and live these memories over again. We had like a whirlwind year. We literally followed summer around the world for a year.
Smart. Really.
Yeah.
It was amazing. 2 carry-on backpacks, and we joked that, if we could survive a year together and still come back married and in love, then we could do anything. We came back. We went back to Newfoundland for a bit and had our first daughter before going to Ottawa, and then I was expecting our second daughter when he died. But he was just like salt of the earth kind of guy. And he always made people feel important. I just love talking about him. Yeah.
What about you, Nadine?
Paul and I met in Ottawa. I was there for university, and I was putting myself through university waitressing. And I would tease him. He would come in every Friday and get the breakfast, same thing, over easy eggs, bacon, brown toast. And on the days that I would tease him, it's like, on the days you get paid, you leave me a 20 on this $10 breakfast. On the weeks you don't get paid, you leave a 12. He was like, what? So we met in Ottawa, and I was very young. I was like 23, and I was just like, I just graduated from university. I just broken up with my university boyfriend. I'm like, I'm just like gonna date, and here's this guy, and he seems super cool. So we dated, and I had always had a travel itch. And then 3 weeks into us dating, he was like, like let's keep it casual. But by the way, I'm going to Japan for work. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna come. and I just like followed him to Japan, and we had an amazing experience there. And it was just like super whirlwind. We like fell in love there, and and then we came back and started our life.
And I want to segue off that because I know that for the two of you, cancer was always part of your story. Because when you met, he told you that he had had cancer once, but was very close to getting that cancer-free sign off.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. The illness returned, and ultimately he died from cancer. I want to know, when you think about the days navigating his illness, navigating your 2 kids, navigating your work, I know there was relationship strife and a separation. Tell me about this cancer pamphlet that you saw, because I know that this is something that sticks in your brain.
Yeah. Paul had cancer, he had cancer in his very early 20s. And then when he met me, he said, like, hey, I'm 1 month away from being, like, cancer-free. And the cancer-free is, like, 5 years. So he was so close. And I was 23. I was like, perfect, we're done. Yeah. We've beat cancer, it's gone. And then when he was in Japan, he was supposed to be there for 3 weeks. He ended up being there for 90 days. And so we were video chatting, and I could see, like, he had a tumor growing on the side of his neck, and I could visibly see it. And so it was like immediately, I'm like, you should come home, you need to go see a doctor and whatnot. And And then so he was like, no, I'm gonna like, this is a new job. I need to stay here. Like, this is no big deal. I'm like, it's a big deal. Like this is a big deal. So he gets home and we're going through treatment. We're fine. They tell us we can't have kids. We have kids. It's like miracle, amazing. But then he gets cancer again, and we're going through. My daughter is very small at this point, and we have this pamphlet, and I'm reading everything I can read about like how do you deal with this? How do I talk to my kids? How do I parent with a co-parent who is under treatment, and how do I be a good partner? And one of the pamphlets was like caregiving with cancer, and one of the lines was, you know, okay, in these different stages of what's happening, these are the different things you can do. When you are in a critical illness or whatnot, like you are in an emergency situation, you are just doing whatever you can to survive. And I was like, yes, but if this keeps coming back, like it's not a way that I can live forever and ever and ever. Because at this point, Paul had cancer 3 times. And he had cancer one more time when we were together and had kids. So it's like, I can't keep living my life just in an emergency situation. Like I have to be able to live. And it was a whole cycle of, he would get ill, and then we had treatment, and treatment would take like 6 months. So it's another year where you're just like living the cancer life, and then another year of recovery. And then finally you're back at work, everybody's like, you're pulling your life together, and then it like hit again. And it was just like this whole cycle of just trying to, just trying to survive. And I was like, I need more from life than this. I can't. It was so hard. Yeah.
And I know you said that as you were dealing with cancer, there was a lot of hope being fed to you, a lot of optimism, but that you would have appreciated if there'd been more realism.
Yeah. The system is like, it's amazing. All the doctors, all the nurses, everybody we encountered, they were like, you know, this is what's happening, but we're here for you. And everybody talks about like, this is your survival rate. They don't talk about like, this is your mortality rate. But I wish someone, and I'm a very optimistic person to begin with, so this is also a little bit of me, but I wish someone had been like, okay, but let's talk about if he actually dies. Like, what's going to happen? What does this mean for you? Yeah. What does this mean for you and your kids? And when I was going through a separation, my lawyer, she sat me down and she was like, he needs to have a life insurance policy. Like he needs to have that as part of your separation agreement in case he actually dies.
Oh, wow.
And I don't think I would have done that if like we had still been married and you know we were just on our own with like people telling us, but I would have been like, no, don't worry about it. Like it'll be fine.
And Samantha, your husband, also died of cancer. Your boys were 11 and 13 at the time. And I know for you, it was the feeling of aloneness that was particularly crushing.
Yeah, I think when we talk about a profound loss, like we've all experienced, the physical aloneness, that absence of that person is obvious, right? We know they're not going to be here anymore. They're not walking in the door, even though sometimes we think they might. But I think the emotional aloneness is so soul-crushing. It's so real, and no one prepares you for it, right? It just sort of happens. It's the secondary thing that happens. We bear the mental load of every decision that we have to make for our kids, for the household. You know, if something goes wrong, school, work, everything. And I think that's the part that really struck me as being so overwhelmingly alone. And I don't mean loneliness, right?
Yeah.
Loneliness is not the same. Being
That's a good
lonely.
distinction.
Yes.
Yeah, being lonely is, you know, maybe feeling a feeling for, you know, a set period of time and it resets and, you know, you're surrounded by people and it improves. But aloneness is, you know, that you know this person is not coming back. Everything weighs on you now and you just have to figure it out. And I think that was, it really was absolutely devastating to my life, you know, and I always remember the day after Andrew's funeral. A lot of my family live out of town to where I live, and everyone came in, which was wonderful. And the day after, everybody just left.
Oh, God.
Which, of course, they have to. They have to go back to their lives, and it's nothing on them. But I just remember thinking to myself, well, I need to know what it's like to be a little trio now with my two boys, and we have to figure it out. And it was absolutely mind-bending, you know, how much you have to adapt to that change.
Sarah, your husband Kevin struggled with substance use disorder. He died of a drug overdose at home, and your daughters were 5 and 2 at the time. And you said that from the outside, your life looked like a life that everyone would want to have. Tell me more about that.
We were both university-educated professionals. Kevin was younger than me. So we, you know, we're in our early 30s. We'd bought in a house, we'd renovated it, we had 2 kids. So to the outside world, we were living the dream. Like we'd met, fallen in love, bought a house, had children. We're on the trajectory of our careers. Like everything, the checklist was being checked. But at the same time, before we had kids, Kevin started struggling with his mental health. So he struggled with depression and anxiety. And ultimately, he started experimenting with drugs. His drug use was a secret to me, so he had hid it from me. And when I found out about his drug use, he had overdosed at home. So I found him. Obviously, that's a pretty traumatic way to find out your partner is using opioids. So that was probably 8 years before he died. So we had an 8-year period of keeping up the facade of this happy family life. But at the same time, he was struggling immensely with his mental health and his substance use disorder. And in my time supporting him, I really learned that substance use disorder is an illness. It's not, he wasn't lying to me or using drugs to hurt me. It was a symptom of his illness. Now that I'm years out from it and I have done a lot of therapy and trauma work for myself, I can really see how being the support person and the caregiver of someone struggling with their mental health and substance use it's awful. It impacted my brain, it impacted my mental health. So he was struggling. I was so anxious. The trust in our relationship was completely eroded. We were just really struggling. And because of the stigma that surrounds substance use disorder, he had told very few people in his life about what he was going through. And I had told some. It was just the way we were doing it. But now that I'm out from it, I can see oh my God, that it was killing me on the inside and it was killing him. But as he was working very hard at his recovery. Recovery is not a linear path. Relapse is part of the recovery process. So he did have a number of relapses over the 8 years. And within that period, we also, again, we both were climbing the ladder at work, got pregnant, lost a baby, got pregnant again, had our daughter, 2 years later had our other daughter. It's insane when I actually say it out loud right now. It's really insane. I literally spent that 8 years out of my mind with anxiety about because I discovered his drug use through him almost dying. I spent the next 8 years with this core feeling that what if it happens again? What if you overdose and die? It was really hard to kind of live a double life. And shoulder pregnancy, nursing, raising a baby, raising a toddler, parenting a guy
All
who
of
was
which is hard enough.
Yes, exactly.
and then parenting a man who arguably couldn't keep his life together. So when he died, I was pretty tired.
You're
an
trying
understatement.
to keep him alive.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I was trying to save him.
subconscious is trying to keep him alive.
Definitely, definitely.
One of the things I've noticed about you is that you are very open about sharing how he died.
Yes.
And I know that's not just with adults, but also with kids.
Yeah.
Why is that?
After he died, I just felt this need to be open about it. And as soon as I started being open about it, the phrase, the weight got lifted off your shoulders was so true for me. I spoke at his funeral, and in his eulogy, I talked about his struggles and afterwards, like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I'm sure my husband's funeral was like jammed, like so many people, and it was so overwhelming. And so many people came up to me afterwards being like, oh my God, I didn't know. Like, why didn't he tell me? Why didn't you tell us? Like, I wish we could have helped. And sharing his story and having it mirrored back to me with love and support and kindness towards him showed me like, oh, this isn't not necessarily a scary thing to tell people. This is like actually helping me to let this weight go and talk about it. And then that like reinforced for me, like, yeah, just be open about it. Just don't hide this anymore. And so I just kept that up with my kids too. Like, I just had this sense that was then validated by my grief counselor that, yeah, be open, honest, transparent with your kids. So I talked to them about it, and they, they're older now, but they would be able to tell their friends, yeah, my dad's died. He took too many drugs, and it made his body and brain stop working, and we can't see him anymore. And so I feel like being open and honest with everyone, but with kids specifically, is kind of like starting at ground zero on eliminating or like chipping away at the stigma, because now my like 14-year-old can tell her friends that her dad died of an overdose, but like her friends also knew him when he was alive, so they also know him as like, oh yeah, Brooklyn's dad is so silly, and like, oh yeah, he was the guy that like skateboarded and played hockey.
He's
and, like,
multidimensional.
He's a person. Like he's their dad and he's a person.
Yes.
I hope for all of my kids' friends, like in their families, it's opened the door for conversations in those families. Like you don't know the ripple effect of what your story does to other people.
That's true.
But I hope that it has allowed those families to have open and honest conversations and like kind of change the way we think about substance use.
Yeah, the narrative.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a bit of a similarity here in that, Jess, you're also quite open about your story. You've created a social media community dedicated to exploring the many nuances and layers of grief.
Yes.
And your husband, Stephen, died in 2019. He was running the Ottawa Half Marathon and his heart stopped.
Yes.
And you had a 3-year-old. You were also 7 months pregnant. I'm wondering what you remember about parenting through that grief in the days after his death.
Oh my goodness. It's similar to you. I look back and think like, how did I do this? I have no idea.
I was an insane person.
Like, it's crazy.
I mean, I was literally insane.
Yeah. And it didn't work out in any of the ways that you imagine would happen when your husband dies. Like, I don't know if I cried that day. I can't remember. But I remember that day, I wasn't at the race the day that he died. I was at home with my oldest daughter. And once we were finally able to see him, and I didn't know he had died at the time, and so they had to bring me downtown to see him. And that evening, we all went to my aunt's house. And of course, Stephen and I are both from Newfoundland. So my dad flew in that night. And then the next morning, my mom flew in. And so my parents are divorced. And I remember like thinking in my head, like, next to my husband dying, this is my second worst nightmare, is having my divorced parents in one house. And, like, I couldn't sleep that night, and my oldest couldn't sleep, so we're playing, like, musical beds all night, and I'm like, oh, my God, if, like, my mom crawls into bed with my dad, like, who knows? Anyway, we were all good. But that day and that night, I couldn't sleep, and so I crawled into bed with my dad. And I remember thinking, it's gonna make me emotional, but I remember thinking, I can go to my dad for comfort, and my children will never get that opportunity again. Like, how, in what world is this fair? In what world is this my reality now, that I still have my dad at 35, but these girls, like this baby in my belly will never get to meet this like incredible human that was her father. And I was 7 months pregnant. I mean, I had to get a maternity dress to wear to the funeral.
Oh, Lord.
We had to fly home to Newfoundland. And then as soon as we came back, it's so irrational now thinking, but in my mind, it was like, okay, I have 7 weeks. I have 7 weeks to get better. Like, I'm gonna get over this grief because when we all know, when you have a baby, like forget any kind of self-care or time to yourself. And now I've got this toddler on top of that. So I was going to like grief meetings twice a week. I was reading every grief book I could find. I was seeing grief therapists. And then you slowly realize like, oh, wait, this doesn't get better in 7 weeks. It doesn't even get better in 7 years. Yeah, there is no cure. But I was just trying everything I could. And so Stephen died in May. And then my youngest was born in August. And then that following March is when COVID started.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was tough. And I look back, I don't know how I did it, but I did it.
Yeah. That seems to be an overarching thread here, that you just survive. Because you have to.
Yeah.
For our kids.
For your kids.
Yeah.
For your kids.
Yeah.
As an outsider to your world, I imagine there's always people who want to help.
Yes.
But they don't always know how.
It's true.
So, this is for all of you. Are there things that people did that were especially helpful? And conversely, are there things that people did that were particularly unhelpful?
For me, the night that my daughter was born, the nurses let me stay in the case room that night. And I remember them saying, we don't have a private room, and we know you're not going to want to be in a shared room with a husband and a wife and their new baby. And so they let me stay in the case room. And then a few days later, my family doctor actually came to my house to do the checkup. And then she stayed and folded baby clothes with my mom. And it's like I've been so blessed with so many beautiful people who have been along the journey. And it's the little things that you will remember forever. Yeah.
That's so powerful. I think for me, it was hearing stories about Andrew that I'd never heard before, or friends sending photos. I think around 1 year, I sent an email out to all my friends, anyone who would read my emails, and said, tell me what you want to share with me and my children about their dad. And whether it's a photo, a story, a joke, I don't mind. And people responded, and it was amazing. And then I can share them with my kids and go, this was your dad. This is, some of the crazy stuff he did, or some of the lovely things we can remember about him that I don't have those stories to share with them. So that was big. Yeah.
But something that sticks out in my mind because it's continued every year. So my husband died in August. So I was an insane person that whole fall into Christmas, and my kids were 5 and 2. So like, I had to make the magic, like all the magic. And that was really tough. And I remember shopping for my own stocking stuffers and just being like, wow, this is garbage. Like, I mean, it was good because I got exactly what I wanted. So that was good. Because my husband, like, whatever, he was an okay gift giver. So I got what I wanted, but it was so sad, so sad.
Right.
And so then fast forward to the next Christmas, and I realized, like, now I'd had a year and a bit to, like, learn. Some of my grief counselor really helped me understand was, like, you gotta ask for help.
Yes.
And accept it, but, like, you gotta really ask for help.
That's a lesson for every mom.
Yes, for sure. Like, in general, ask for help. So I remember reaching out to my, like, 3 of my best friends saying, can you guys, like, buy me a couple of stocking stuffers and wrap them and bring them to my house before Christmas? And they all were like, oh my God, of course. Like, of course.
Yeah.
So they did. And like, they're great gift givers. They're my best friends. They know me. Like, incredible. And they do it every year now. Now I don't have to ask them. Like,
the best.
It is the best. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a lovely tradition and a lovely, like a really strong example of how I realized a thing I needed, and I realized I had to ask for it, because why would anybody else even think of this small thing that, like, I had to buy my own stocking stuffers.
It was like a tangible thing for
Yeah,
your
like-
friends to go, I have a to-do list.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what to do with this.
It's just like all these things that you realize, how can I ask for help to, like, make it be less painful, and now this, like, nice tradition.
What about you, Nadine? Anything particularly helpful or not?
Yeah, I would say because we had already been separated for a year or two, I had figured out all of the logistics already. So So I knew how to, like, feed my kids. I knew how to do, like, school drop off and everything. But I was really, like, sitting with the emotion. And so when people would be like, what can I do to help? The question itself was so overwhelming to me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't answer it. I didn't know how to answer it. I just couldn't even deal with it. I found like going to drop off, I remember I probably wore a baseball hat or some sort of
I hit
hat
a lot too,
for
yeah.
like 3 years straight because I didn't know how to like interact with people at the time. And so just having that question and being overwhelmed with like, I don't know. But what was super helpful was people who had just been like, we have done this for you and here it is.
Yes.
And this is how you access this. And it was just like, I would say it was like causes. Like one mom, she put together like a fund for us, and then she was like, here you go.
Yeah.
And then also the school had changed not celebrating like Father's Day anymore, which was
That's
amazing.
so meaningful.
And like I didn't initiate that at all. It was just like something that had happened. There's a number of moms in the school, and they just switched it. Like, we're just gonna celebrate Family Day now. And I'm like, this could be a really contentious issue, but they just made it a non-issue. So that was,
I love that.
that was really, really impactful. Yeah.
You know, I have to say that when I told people that I was talking to widows for this series, there was this sort of retreat. Because as you have told me before, you represent a lot of people's worst nightmare, is what you told me.
Yep.
Yes.
And yet I've been so struck by the kindness and the humanity in your stories. And I think hearing all of this is so helpful to people to know how to support, what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to. I'm struck, Jess, by something you said earlier, which was the idea that a nurse understood that you wouldn't want to be in the same room, delivery room, recovery room, as a complete family.
Yes.
And I want to ask you two about that. Is there any resentment when you hear or see sort of, and I use air quote, complete families?
Yes.
Two-parent families either thriving or not? Does resentment ever creep in?
Yes. Sorry. Yes,
Admittedly,
it does.
yes.
For me, I remember, I think it might have been maybe my first Mother's Day, which like was guttingly painful because nobody did anything. Like I had like a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. They weren't about to like cook for me or do anything.
Right.
So I remember taking them to the park in the afternoon because like it was a Sunday in May. We went to the park and then I remember being like, oh my God, dad, kid. It was all dads at the park with their kids because the dads were taking the kids out to the park so mom could go to the spa or like have an afternoon, like the gift of time alone. And I was like, oh, I'm just here with all of the dads because I'm mom and dad. And I think I cried the whole time. I was super resentful and I still feel it. Less so because now I have more solo mom time under my belt and more like I feel more sure of myself and I'm more confident that I'm doing a good job. But my older daughter plays hockey and she's been playing hockey for like 4 years. And hockey made the resentment come back up again.
How so?
I'm very passionate that my daughter plays hockey and that girls hockey is a huge thing. But the generation, like, it's still all the dads coaching, and it's still mostly the dads that bring their daughters to hockey.
Tie up their skates?
Yeah, like tie their skates, all that stuff. So like, it was just like a very foreign place for me to be in the hockey. And I didn't play hockey, so like being in the hockey arena and like just the like unspoken norms of like waiting in the hallway when they're in the change room, and then they come out. So they get their skates tied. I didn't know any of this. And so like the first probably 2 seasons of hockey, I felt resentful that like, oh my God, my husband overdosed and has left me. He played hockey. He was he would have been the volunteer coach. He would have been, I would have been the mom like washing the hockey clothes and like getting coffee. You know, this would have been his thing and I would have had a different thing. And so like, I still feel like a bit of resentment. But as time goes on, the like pride in what I have accomplished and what the family that I am shepherding through all of this is growing and is a nice antidote to the resentment. But I do think it's also like important to like acknowledge it and notice it and be like maybe okay with it's not the right word, but just like it is a thing we feel. And like society, as much as we celebrate diverse families, like society still is this like heteronormative thing where it's like a 2-parent household and it stinks.
For me, it was, well, there was a couple things. Well, there's more than
Where should I start?
Do I have a list?
I think for one, it was social media. I absolutely had to take a social media break. We all know social media is your best life, right? And so I would, doom scroll and I would see, my happily married friends posting, it's our 20th wedding anniversary. And I'm like, great, I don't have that. I don't get to have that anymore. And, or, just dads with kids, all of those things. So the resentment was real. And my pet peeve, still to this day, is when I see, could be friends, it could be strangers, couples sort of arguing, or not just nattering, but because I know everybody maybe does that occasionally, but it's the disrespect to one another. When I see that, really gets my goat, because I was like, you have someone. And so please I know we can't be kind and wonderful all the time, but we can show respect and still argue or disagree. So that really is a tough one for me still to this day.
Thank you for that honesty, because I do think, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
I want to talk about friendship with the two of you, because I know that you have quite intentionally leaned into friendships with other widows. How has that been helpful?
Oh, for me, it was life-saving, honestly. It was COVID, so I was already in this period of isolation. And so I went to social media to find other people like me. And I was like, I just need to know that I'm not the only one. I need to know that the feelings I'm having and the struggles I'm feeling are not just me alone. And it just has enriched my life so much. And I always joke that if I could pick up men like I pick up widows, I'd be like living my best life right now. But I've had so many friendships online develop into real life, human to human experiences. And I don't know that I would have made it this far without those experiences. And I think sharing our story, similar to Sarah, you sharing, so openly about substance use disorder, I actually remember reading Sarah's story when I had a fully intact family with a husband and a newborn baby, and I watched something on TV or I read it in an article and it stuck with me. And then I remember years later then coming across Sarah's account on Instagram and thinking, oh my God, now I'm her too. But there's so much beauty and power in community, and that's how we heal. And we just want to know that we're not alone in it.
And Sarah, I know in your case, you feel like you can say things with your widow friends that you can't necessarily share with other people.
100%.
Totally.
I say the same as Jess. I say me meeting my widow friends has been life-saving and life-changing.
Absolutely.
Honestly, when my husband died, I was 41. None of my friends were even getting divorced yet. Everyone was still married. So I had all these amazing friends that were were supporting me. But you want to be with someone who knows what you're going through. And if your husband is still alive, you literally don't know what it's like to be going through this. So I remember I was very active in a couple of Facebook groups in my neighborhood, and a couple of months after my husband passed away, this story came up in the Facebook group of another woman in the neighborhood whose husband had passed away. And at the same time, one of this woman's neighbors messaged me being like, I know that your husband recently passed away. My neighbor's husband just passed away. Can you give me any tips? She wanted to support her neighbor and was wanting some advice. So I shelled out some advice for my 3-month widowhood. I didn't know anything. But then I was like, and also, do you think that woman wants to be my friend? If she does, can you give her my info? And this other woman was like, okay. So then this new widow messaged me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Where are you staying? I'm gonna bring you some food. Be my friend. So I showed up on her doorstep. Literally her husband passed away And then like 4 days later, I'm there, like wild-eyed, like here's the macaroni, and are we going to be lifelong friends? And turns out we are going to be lifelong friends because we've been friends ever since. And then just like you, we started collecting widows along the way. Like, I think social media has many negative points, as we all know. But I also felt like weirdly grateful to be a widow in the time of social media because it does allow more unique niche communities to get connected.
So true.
So like I'd met Alexi, this other widow, her story showed up on Facebook and Alexi was like, I think I need to reach out to this girl, should I? So she did, we brought that widow into the group. Then at some point I said to my grief counselor, like, if you have, I know this might be unprofessional, but if you have any other clients who like would fit my profile, like, can you like hook us up?
Play matchmaker.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Oh my
so
gosh,
she
this
did
is the
play
best.
like friend matchmaker, and like we brought Janice into the group. It's been a rich addition to my life. So that's like one of my biggest pieces of advice for people that have lost a partner is like find
your people.
like network, like find your people,
don't be
like
afraid.
literally put it out there with your grief counselor, like on Facebook, on
Yes.
social media, like find other widows because it is going to be it's so helpful to be in a community with people who like you can say the crazy stuff and have it reflected.
no judgment.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and
like
then-
they get it.
yeah.
They know that if I'm laughing, I'm not better. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't like no magic stick
Yeah.
has like, you know, just instantly made me better. I can
You're
I can
cured.
laugh,
Yeah.
but that pain is still there. Yeah, there's nothing like it.
I like how you talked about the social media part of being like, it is a positive. That's how Jess and I met.
Yes.
But I remember going to my first like widow support group.
Yes.
And I was definitely the second youngest person in the room.
yeah.
And everybody was 65 and older. And I felt a fish out of water. And I was like, they're all lovely.
Yeah. But
it's so
and they were,
different, yeah.
it was such a different experience. And so finding people online and now all of us now. It's wonderful. It is a different, we always say it's like a club no one wants to be a part of, but we're sadly a part of this club.
One of the things that you all do, whether knowingly or not, is you have this rare magical ability to pivot from talking about the hardest thing in life to something that is so funny. So I'm going to take a page from you right now because I want you to share your
Oh my
story
God. You guys are all gonna-
about
I know.
the
When we were
widow friend group trip to Prince Edward County.
Okay, yes. I remember like at our first winery stop thinking like, oh, I didn't realize, but like Prince Edward County on a beautiful fall weekend is all couples or bachelorette parties. And so we looked like a bachelorette party because it was for women, like young women getting tipsy and like, you know, having fun. We were leaving this one winery. There was another group coming towards us and they clearly were a bachelorette party. And so as we walked past them, one of us was like, I hope he doesn't die.
And that's the type of humor that they
like-
would appreciate.
Like,
Yeah.
oh God, yes, yes.
Funny. I'm wondering, and I'm going to ask the two of you this, do you ever feel like there's pressure to, and I use air quotes intentionally here again, to get over it, to move on?
I feel like there's this weird, I don't know where it came from, if it's societal or something else, but there is this line in the sand at 1 year that after you've been grieving the loss of your partner after a year, you're magically fixed. Guess what?
Yeah.
It's not true. They're all lying to you.
Yeah.
And there's this judgment too, like if you
Yeah.
date too soon or too late, or how long have you waited, or are you taking care of your kids? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're doing just fine. Thank you very much. I'm doing it all. I feel like the check-ins slow down. Everyone goes back to their life. And as much as we all believe the world should stop for us when you have this profound loss, it absolutely doesn't. But maybe just for a moment, could it? So we could just feel a little bit seen in ourselves and in our lives. But yeah, it's over 6 years for me since Andrew died. And I used to take the day off from work. And this last year, I remember thinking, like, 6 years, I'll be fine. And I didn't book it off. And then the days leading up to it, I said, no, I definitely
gonna
need
take it
that
off.
day.
Yeah.
I definitely need that day. And I took it. And oh, my goodness, so thankful that I did. Because it doesn't matter how many years go by. You know,
Yeah.
it really doesn't. They're always still there.
I would say definitely people expected me to like bounce back, or I could feel their judgment, especially because I was already separated.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they're like, you're not together, nothing really changes for
Right.
you. And it was such a weird place to be because I didn't also feel like I really belonged in the widow club because I was like, we'd already separated. But then it was, how do you deal with all the emotions of grief, supporting your kids, and then you have a 4-month window of get better. And like there was no support in terms of, there was no avenue at work for this type of, like,
Oh my goodness.
what do you do?
It's not sort of classic
No,
bereavement,
it's not.
is it?
It's not classic. There's no like handbook on how are you supposed to act and how does society act when you're separated.
Yeah.
Like co-parent dies.
Yes.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
So it was like definitely the check-in stopped, the notes stopped, and this was also in the tail end of COVID, so they weren't really prevalent to begin with.
Yes.
Everybody, and because Paul was sick with cancer, we were also like keeping our distance, like very vehemently. So there was a lot of isolation and there's a lot of expectation in terms of like, when are you going back to work and how are you adjusting but not really, and and the 1-year mark was like, I should be better, but then 2 years sucked hardcore.
Second year is way worse
Yeah.
than the first year.
And then it'll be 4 years in April, but sometimes it just feels like he's late for pickup and he's still gonna like show up.
Yeah.
And those days are really, really hard. So
It's so true. I'm reflecting on what you're saying, in that if widows as a group aren't given attention and spotlight, certainly separated widows are a further niche. So I appreciate you sharing that. I do.
yeah.
Jess and Sarah, you've both shared that there are some things that are hard to say out loud about this. And one of those things is that parts of your life have gotten better and richer as a result of what you've gone through. Can you say more about that?
This is one of those things that I'm so glad I had a grief counselor, especially early on, because I remember saying to her, and it's making me feel teary, I remember saying, I feel relieved. I feel relieved. And now I feel like a horrible person that I've like said it out loud, that I feel relieved that my husband died.
Yeah.
And she was so empathetic and so helpful in helping me realize that, no, that is like a very natural feeling. Like, because she'd question back to me like, well, okay, couldn't you say parts of your life are like a little bit easier now? Like I wasn't living with ever-present anxiety. I wasn't living with the person that was lying to me. I wasn't like caring for someone who was struggling with his mental health. I'm like, have been working very hard over the last number of years to work through the trauma of all of that. So my life is easier in that category now. And so it made sense that I felt relieved. And everyone around me, I think it's very common when someone dies that you kind of put them on a pedestal and you really sort of idolize them, and you remember only the good things. And especially early on, like I wasn't remembering the good things. I was so mad that my life was exploded and I was parenting 2 young kids alone. Like I'm 10 years out now and I'm still devastatingly sad. Like it's the saddest thing that this amazing person who was my best friend, who like loved me in a way I don't know if I'll ever be loved in that way again. Like it was so special and he was so special. So that's devastatingly sad, but that can exist at the same time as me feeling relieved that I'm not married to someone who's addicted to drugs anymore, and that I'm not struggling with PTSD anymore, and I don't have anxiety like I used to have. So like, I used to think it had to be one or the other. Like you just had to be sad. But I can be sad and mad and happy and relieved and tired and angry. I can be all of the things.
All at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Like all at the same time.
That's true. I actually got a tattoo that says both and, because I feel like that's how I live my life now. It's like everything in my life can be both, beautiful, and I still miss Steven.
Yeah.
And for me, of course, like our type of loss is different. So there was no relief for me, but I tried to embody like all of the good things that Steven was. And at first, I put a lot of pressure on myself. And everything I did, it was like, what would Stephen do? Like, how would Stephen respond to this? Because, yes, that same idea of we put them on a pedestal, but like he really was just like this incredible human being. And over time, I feel like I've embodied those qualities now. So I like this version of myself better. And I only wish that I could have been this version without him dying.
I feel like that too.
Right?
Yeah,
like I
feel like
just
that too.
wish
Yeah.
he could see this
Yeah.
version without
Yeah.
having to, you
But
know,
like
die.
this version happened because they died.
Because of that,
But I'm
and
like,
it
oh my God, I
just-
want to tell you so much about me now.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's so
It's
weird.
such a
It is
strange
weird, yeah.
feeling. And I value my friendships more. My friendships are more meaningful now. I think it's how I approach life and how I look at life that is more intentional and meaningful.
And Nadine, you say that Paul dying also put some things in perspective for you.
Definitely. I feel like everything is in perspective now. We had so much that we went through in our marriage and in our story, and then it feels like I've already done the hardest thing. Like I've told my kids their dad died.
Yeah.
Like what else is harder than that? We went through cancer for 10 years. Like what else is harder than that? And so it makes me appreciate all of the little things in life, to find joy in like a warm cup of coffee in the morning. And like I remember one time my daughter, she like flipped from, she was like an emo kid, and then she flipped to having all of her drawings have smiley face and people. And I'm like, they're all happy now. This is amazing. And so it's just like teeny tiny things every day, like no laundry. Amazing. Life is great.
Get there.
Like warm cooked meal. So all of these like really small things I really like leaned into in order to like, you know, every day is a blessing. We're still here. And just like he doesn't have any of these moments that I get to have, which is the most amazing. And it's just remembering that. Good moments, the bad moments, but I'm here, and it just puts everything into perspective.
I know that you re-entered the dating scene. You're now engaged.
I am, yes.
And I'm curious about the rest of you. I know you've all, at various stages and times, re-entered the dating scene. What's that been like? What's that? We'll start with the two of you.
The bad and the ugly.
Oh my goodness. So it took me a while to start dating. And I remember my first date was just a coffee date. And I went home and I called my dad, like sobbing. And I was like, I went on a date. And he was like, it's okay. Like, you are still alive. Like, Stephen would want you to be, you know, happy and living. You're young. And then I went on a second date with this same guy. And that was how I got COVID. My first post-dead husband kiss gave me COVID.
Oh my God. That is hilarious.
Yes, so that was our second and final date.
Oh my God.
But it's tough to navigate when you have kids, and
Oh, gosh.
it's hard to find somebody who has the capacity
Yeah.
to have a relationship with you and your dead husband, because he is the father of my children.
Yeah.
His picture will always be in my house. We will always celebrate his birthday, and we will always talk about him. So I think it will, whenever that time comes, it will take a special person who has room to love all parts of us. And as a widow, I've tried to explain this before, but similar to when you have one child and you can't imagine ever loving another child in the same way, like my heart belongs to Stephen, but it can also have love for other people and other humans. And so finding someone who understands that it's not a competition, like he's dead. You know, like, you don't have to worry.
I'm not going to cheat on you.
Right? So yeah, hopefully there's someone out there, but it's been a ride.
I bet.
It's been a ride.
What about you?
My first relationship was pretty soon after he died. I think I started dating like 9 months after he died. I'm so grateful for that relationship, and I've said it to him since. Like, it really showed me that I could be loved again. It is a special person to date, not just a single mom, but like a solo mom, and have the confidence in yourself and in the relationship that like, yeah, Kevin's always going to be in my life.
Right.
And I remember him saying to me, probably on like our third date, I just want you to know you can talk to me, like, I want to know about Kevin, and you can talk to me whenever you want about him. And that like really sat with me because not every man would be like that. Like,
Green flag.
yeah, total green flag. And I like went through iterations of like on my dating app, saying I'm a widow, not saying I'm a widow. Do I bring it up on a first date? Like, what do I do? And I eventually settled on like, yeah, I'm gonna say this like right out in my dating app.
Yeah.
Kids, widow, all of that. Because if you're not into that, you're not for me.
Yeah,
Yes.
weeds them out.
Like totally weeds them out. So you need to be totally okay with that to be with me. I feel weirdly grateful that I get this like second chance to design, build, find the right relationship for me now at 51.
I love
As
that,
opposed to being a 20-something who like didn't know myself, didn't like, Kevin and I grew up together and built a life together. But now I built my own life and I'm looking for someone to like complement that, not
I love that.
get married again and like buy a house together. Like,
Right.
I found it like super liberating because I was like, I can do it all by myself.
Yeah.
I've been doing like it's
Yeah.
fine.
I don't-
And I was like, this man, he's like extra.
Yeah.
You know? When Paul died, I was like, okay, how do I do this now? And then I was like, okay, my whole dating philosophy changed because I was like, well, before it was like church and state. You know, like they will never meet the children until we are getting married. Like, and then it was like, well, they had to meet the children immediately because otherwise I'm never seeing you. Like, ever. So it was like just, it's all out there. I have 2 kids. There is no dad. Would you like to have coffee?
yeah.
It was very liberating. I found it. So it was nice.
And Samantha, earlier, Jess talked about finding someone who loves all parts of her. And you have found that. And you are engaged.
I
You're
am.
getting married in June.
Still can't believe it.
Tell me about that and finding someone new and integrating him so beautifully into your family.
Yeah, it's all good questions. I think I can. All of this resonates with me. I can relate to everything you're saying. It's a jungle out there. It's not for the faint of heart. I remember going to a fellow widow's house and we would swipe and joke at all the fish photos and things like that. But I was very fortunate. And I remember being an early widow and seeing widows online talking about repartnering and feeling insanely jealous. And I was like, that's me now. I was jealous of me. And man, if you asked me 5-6 years ago, would this happen? I never would have thought this is how my life was going to go, but here we are. And I have met the most amazing man. And we got engaged last spring and we're getting married this summer and I can't believe it. And
Congrats.
thank you. And he's about 5 years older than me, so he has 2 boys, a little bit older. I also have 2 boys, and we're blending families. But his boys are independent and young adults and living independently. But we took a trip together after Christmas, and all 6 of us went away, and everyone has fun together, and we all got along. And it's just a wonderful. I couldn't ask for this sort of better sort of integration. I just can't believe it. I still am like, what just happened? And fully knowing that Andrew is okay with it. And I think it's not a competition, right? Like they're not here anymore, so there is no competition. But I recognize just what you said about the love, like having your first child and then having your second child, you're like, wow, I didn't know my heart could hold so much love, and happened again, right? I have so much love. I just feel like it's oozing out my ears right now. It's just amazing. So, yeah, it's a journey.
I'll say I've been to 3 weddings of widows.
Yeah.
And they're the most amazing, beautiful weddings because
that's so
the pain that the people getting married have been through.
Yeah.
It's just incredible. Like, it'll be a beautiful day.
Oh, you're the best.
And now you have to send us all photos.
Yeah,
for sure. For sure.
Invitation.
I'll take that too. I'll take that
too.
All right, writing that down. Yeah.
As we wrap up, I want to talk about legacy. And Jess, you've started running the Ottawa Half Marathon every year, the race that your husband died doing. And you have started running it alongside a grief counselor that you have this otherworldly connection with. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So on the 5-year anniversary, I decided it's time to change my relationship with race weekend. It kind of takes over the city. And so for years, I was like, I'm not going near downtown. I don't want to hear about it. And then I just said, you know what? I can't live like this anymore. And so on the 5-year anniversary, I decided to run the half, and now I run it every year. But maybe 6 months prior to that, a fellow widow friend of mine had sent me a link to, it was like an outdoor play-based grief support group for kids and adults. And in Ottawa, there were very few resources for children, grieving children. And immediately I was like, okay, yes, we're gonna do it. So I signed the girls and I up for it. And then once I was reading through the details, I realized that the director was from Newfoundland. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know her. So we did our intake call. And so we start, you know, of course, in Newfoundland, everybody knows everybody. So we're going through the list of who we know in common. And then she asks, you know, for the story of how Stephen died. And so I tell her the story. And then she pauses at the end. And she says, you know, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you this, but I was with your husband when he died.
Oh, God.
She said, I was running the same race that day, and we never spoke. But for the last half of the half, I was using him as my pace buddy. And she said, in my mind, I was thinking, if a man can run this fast, then I can do it. And so they ran. She was there when he died, like when he collapsed, when he died. She helped like corral the runners away. And I was just in absolute shock. Like, how is this real? And now, you know, 5 years later, we're connecting in the strangest but most beautiful way, because now you're about to support the baby that was in my belly when he died. And then we decided that first year she ended up running the half with me. And that was her first time running it again. So we ran the half together. And now every year I fundraise for her charity because they just do such incredible work. And as you all know, like supporting kids through their grief is a journey in itself, and it evolves and it changes over time as they get older and understand things more. These little angels and connections and experiences I've had have just made the journey so much easier.
That is an otherworldly connection.
I know, like
really
Netflix, like
Yes. Whole Jess. Yeah. And, you know, Sarah, you mentioned earlier you're coming up on the 10-year anniversary of your husband's death. How's that sitting with you?
I really feel like the 10-year is like, I want it almost to be like a celebration of us, a celebration of me, like my resilience, my family's growth as going from a broken family, grieving, to a family that's carrying their grief, but thriving as a family of 3. With my widow friends, because we're all coming up on our 10-year, we decided that, yeah, this is worthy of like a girls' trip.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard for us all to coordinate childcare at the same time so we can all go away, but like, we really felt like, oh my God, we're doing this. Like we have survived, not just survived, we've thrived. I don't think we were thriving at the beginning, but we have come to a period of part of thriving. And I think that's worthy of celebrating. Like, but then it brings in the bittersweet thing, because I'm like, oh my God, I just wish Kevin was here to see, to see this 10-year version of me and what our family has become.
I will say too, like just as we said, congratulations to Samantha on her engagement. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, thank you.
10 years is no joke.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's no joke.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I want to leave the last question to the two of you. If you could share a piece of advice with a woman, with a mom who is where you were who's in those early stages after their partner has died, what would you say to them?
You're not alone. I felt alone. We all probably had versions of that, but there is a community out there. Find it. Even if you start with your own friends who are maybe non-grievers at that time, it'll lead you to the people in this club that we don't want to be part of, but we are in. But you're not alone. So find that group.
Mine is it gets better.
That's what I was
Yeah,
gonna say.
it like, and it doesn't happen in the day or the week or the month or even the year or the 2 years.
Or the multiple years.
Or 10 years.
It takes a long time, but it does get better. And like progress is never linear, but it gets better. And to find joy in the little things and to give yourself grace, to give yourself a hug, to give your kids a hug.
Yes.
But it does get better, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough. This is where I might get emotional. For your honesty, your vulnerability. I think you've probably, I should not be the one crying here. I'm immensely grateful that you would share your stories. I thank you so much for coming today, being so candid, and just mom to mom. I see you. I see the work that you do for your families. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.